GDC 2018. And this is 3 steps to becoming a better artist immediately. That's not my style. All right, so I was listening to NPR a few weeks ago because I wanted you guys to think I was smart. And I caught this awesome story about, this is called the Flying Fortress. It's an airplane that Boeing premiered in the 1930s. And when they showed it off at the first air show, it ended in tragedy. And it wasn't that the super skilled pilots couldn't do some like backflip barrel roll maneuver. It was actually something very simple. They didn't check the landing gear properly. And from there spawned this idea of checklists. So every pilot on every plane that you guys flew here today on, they have like a basic ass checklist of like landing gear and close the doors and super, super basic stuff. Like all the hotshot pilots, you know, when they're in the zone, they can forget, they're human, they can forget basic things. So a checklist actually can help prevent disaster. And that checklist idea actually transferred over to medicine. And you know, geniuses of medicine, surgeons, all that stuff, they were making very easy mistakes and causing infections by not doing things in the right order, overlooking a step here or there. So again, this idea of a very simple and basic checklist. Wash your hands, then put on your gloves, then do the tube thingy, then take the plastic off. Like, that basic checklist is what's saving lives today. So my name is Horia Dociu. That's how you pronounce it, Horia. It's Romanian. And I'm currently the studio art director at ArenaNet. If you're not familiar with ArenaNet, we're up in Seattle, Washington. We're about 400 people strong. Lovely, awesome, freaking amazing place to work for. Been there about a decade. And yeah, we're known for Guild Wars, which is a MMO. It's free. You don't even have to pay for it. All right, but I've done other stuff in my 18 years of industry experience. I was an animation student at DigiPen. I did props for Half-Life 2. I taught concept art at Future Poly, and I was an art director on Second Son for Sucker Punch. Here's some of my personal work just to get to know me a little bit, some concept art, some freelance stuff, some of my art for Second Son, some old Guild Wars concept art. And then here's a couple-week-old life drawing sketch from the figure drawing sessions that we have every Thursday at ArenaNet. There's a couple hours we block out just to draw. And the reason I put these in here is because I want to show off. No, just kidding. It's actually, I'm going to look rather bad when I flip to the next slide, because I want to talk about the guy who runs the class. His name's Aaron Coberly, and he's like an art genius. He's been the character lead at ArenaNet for about 14 years, and I've known him long before that. I attended his life drawing classes way back in high school. And this guy's obviously a super talent, right? Like oil painting, watercolor, pencil. These are 30-second gestures. Like, fuck you, Aaron. Like, that's insane. But here's the awesome thing about Aaron. He does this stuff 3 times a week, 4 hours at a time. And look what's in his pocket. It's a crusty little checklist. And I just texted him. I was like, Aaron, send me a picture of your checklist, because I know he's always got it. So just like surgeons, just like fighter pilots, this dude who does it nonstop, 24/7, he keeps a checklist of like, squint. Okay, like squint is at the top of this dude's list. So you're not smarter than a fighter pilot. So my spiel here is about 3 super easy steps to hopefully make us all better artists. But first, I want to break down how I think about visual design. This is my personal take. Might seem silly to some of you guys, but I think it frames a little bit of the stuff I'm talking about. So I see these 3 pillars in my head. And the first is what I call the idea. It's the intellectual read. Like, what is it? This could actually be a paragraph for all I care. It's all typed up, right? It's just the idea, what it is. Then is the design, kind of like shape, language, proportions, maybe the model. Right, even in the silhouette, you can tell who's a real human and who's a cartoon right there. And then the method of rendering. Is it oil paint, or is it photoreal PBR in-game? Is it cel-shaded? Is it whatever? Just how's it rendered? And then all that stuff is kind of in service of tone. Vibe, mood, things that enforce the themes. So like lighting, color palette, cinematography, music would be a good candidate to go in here. So in one of many food analogies I have in here, if art content is the food, then tone is the restaurant. So like Mario Kart happens at Chuck E. Cheese, and Resident Evil happens at my house. Stupid jokes. So lastly is execution, and this just literally means how well did you, the kind of the craftsmanship aspect, how well did you execute on what you set out to do. All right, so to kind of explain this a little further, I'll just use a simple example, Homer Simpson. So the tone is a clever, crude comedy satire, The Simpsons. The idea is a dumb, fat American family man with anger issues. The design is cartoonish round shapes, and the technique is cel-shaded. And of course, he looks like that. So in my head, what if you changed the technique to be 3D clay? It looks like that. If you change it to be photorealistic, oh, what? Gross, gross! Now, you're saying, why didn't that look like a real person? Because in my head, you got to change the design to be real human proportions, and then it might look like that. And then if we talk about the tone, it goes from kind of a crude comedy to maybe like a dark comedy, like a Tim Burton thing, and it'll look like that. All right, so different tone, different technique, different design, different tone. Oh, what, did I mess it up? Different idea, Jesus, right? Different idea, different technique, different design, different tone, different execution. You guys remember that? That is tragic, man. Oh. So idea, tone, design, technique, execution, these are they're tools for expression. And what's unfortunate is I think this is where the magic happens. Like, what are you saying? What are you making? What are you building? That's where that happens in those two columns. But everybody, including myself, kind of focuses on this other stuff, right? You go to ArtStation, go, oh, it's gorgeous looking. And so you don't have to raise your hands, but in like your brain, raise your hand. These are quotes that I've had in my life that I'm not terribly proud of, but let's see if you guys agree. Like, oh, I want to draw like Ashley Wood. That's not anything. You don't start like that. I'm going to make a portfolio piece tonight. What are you drawing? Well, portfolio piece, right? I need to get started frickin' ASAP. I can't think about this. I gotta go. And what's my style? Well, like, don't lie to me. All of you guys have thought some of that crap. And, what's my style? Well, this is my dad, and he's got a cool saying about style. Fuck style. Expression is the ultimate goal. Cool, Horia. Why is your dad talking to you about art? Well, because he was my boss for 10 years at ArenaNet. He's this phenomenal concept artist, designer, and art director, and I took his job. He left. But I did. Come on. I'm not going to take his job. No, but he taught me that expression truly is the most important thing. And I got to work with a ton of other awesome people at ArenaNet. Theo Prince, Carlin Lim, Amber Barrett, Levi Hopkins, Richard Anderson, Keika Kotaki, Jamie Jones, Thomas Scholes, Neil Hansen, Jason Stokes. These are just some of the people that taught me expression is the ultimate goal. Now, they didn't all sit down and tell me, and they didn't all say fuck, but just by seeing them in action and the way they interact with people and the way that they think, I buy into this. Horia, who cares about expression? Why? Why should I care about expression? We're commercial artists. This is our job. Like, scoot the toilet over. This is our job. Who cares? Well, I don't think you guys would be in this room if you weren't actually artists. Like, the commercial part is to pay the bills and whatever, eat food, but we're all artists, so that's what I'm talking to today is the artist. So here it is, 3 steps to becoming a better artist immediately. I'm not gonna lose that lens flare. It's hot. It makes it pop. All right. So checklist. This is it. Get your e-pencils ready or whatever. I'm just joking. All right. So the first one is about just being groovy and cool, nice people, which I'm sure like 90% of you are. 85% of you are. It's about being open-minded, taking direction well, being friendly. That's sort of important stuff in this very collaborative endeavor we call making games. And I couldn't get that in a short enough thing, so I just said, don't be a dick. That's my number one. It's not terribly connected to the next two, but time and time again, since I was whatever, first starting out in the industry till right now, to when I was a teacher, like this is the #1 thing I cannot stress enough. It's foundational. All right, number 2, stop and think, please. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you saying? Just stop, take some time, and think before you act, because I think it's so stressful to have that empty piece of paper. You got to go get stuff on there. Like, just take a moment, take a moment. And lastly, use reference. Pretty self-explanatory, but I think every great artist knows that this is the key. This is the difference between professionals and amateurs. All right, number 1. So at ArenaNet, we actually have a no-jerk policy. I've seen them send people home like mid-interview, like you could be the most talented person, but if you got that like rock star attitude where you, I'm the best, get out. There's the door, because the whole point of games is that it's a collaborative environment. These are a couple creative geniuses here. John Cleese talks about creativity being kind of a willingness to play. You can't play when people are being assholes next door. You can't play around when people are stressing you out or saying no all the time. You know, you have to, even when you're by yourself, you have to kind of give yourself that space and that time for your mind to wander and be creative and be in that open state. And you know, if your lead's in here, be Jim Henson. Say thank you to all your artists. Like, just make it a cool place to be, to work, kind of that like groovy. I know it sounds silly, but like we all need that to be successful. So don't be a dick. I try to put it in like a cool sports analogy to impress you guys, but then I got distracted by this dude because he looks, no, hold on. He looks like a perfect mix of John Lithgow and my buddy Daniel, right? So I had to change the poster. I changed it to this. A creature is a feature, and that's like a very cool rhyming thing that I made up. But what I mean by that is, of course, when you're making a creature in the game, you're not just making something in ZBrush and chucking it in. That's nothing. That's a mesh. That's bullshit. A creature has a backstory, and like, how does it move? Where does it live? What sounds does it make? What's the game design? What's the AI? What effects come off of it when it shoots its laser beams? Like, all of that stuff. That's the creature. That's what the player interacts with. That's your art form. And so if you ever think you're making something on your own, you're not. A creature is a feature. We're working together. The best work that I've ever done and the most enjoyable and satisfying was when I was working in strike teams, where you show up to the table and there's somebody from animation and art and design and literally one of every department that's going to touch this thing. You're like, all right, by next Friday, we got to make this thing fun. Whether it's this, in Second Son, this R1 laser shot needs to be way more impactful and fun, or this creature needs to be more badass, or whatever. Like, we got to take all these things into consideration and put them all into the creature. And you can't be at that table unless there's trust, respect, and honest collaboration. And by trust, I mean, of course, that you have to kind of trust people, that you can give them feedback across disciplines, all that stuff. It's safe. You respect them to do their jobs, though. You don't try to, like, I'm not going to go tell the sound guy. I'll tell him, hey, I think it's just, but I need to do my job. I need to draw it as good as possible to make sure he knows what it sounds like, and I could say this sounds good, this sounds bad. But at the end of the day, we're all sharing it. It's our creature, and I got to respect that he's going to do the right thing. And that is what true collaboration is. So again, just don't be a dick. And if you're starting out in the industry, or you got junior gremlins on your team, everybody knows the first 6 months of being in the industry, you learn more than 4 years of school. My mother-in-law says, you got 2 eyes and 2 ears, only 1 mouth. And she's right. Like, you got to be this when you're starting out in the industry, or any time. Like, listen, collaborate, just be like this. I don't know what this reference is. I hope it's not some weird puppet, weird porno or something. Sorry. Anyway, but if you're cool and you take critique well and all that stuff, you get chosen for better projects, better teams, and then pretty soon you end up on people's superhero list. We all have this list. Like right now, if I was like, you get $1 billion and you can start a game company, like you're like, I would hire Jason and so on, so on, so on. Like, you know exactly who you'd hire, and the only way you end up on that list is not just to be super talented, it's to be awesome to work with. So start making your list. All right, so you learn more by being cool. You do better work collaborating, and you get more jobs. All right, number 1 is done. I beat that horse to death. Number 2, stop and think. All right? Art is visual communication. Here's a sweet example. I can't take credit for that. I didn't make that up. I'm not that smart. I thought it was hilarious. But I was just searching for pie charts because it's like a pie chart is this like 2-second piece of information that actually stands for like a whole ton. It's like a wall of nonsense text that's told, through a cool pie chart. Like visual communication is just amazing. It transcends time. Like, what's that? A cow. What's that? A horse. Cool. You know who got us to say that? Together, we all said it. It probably didn't show up on film, but everybody was saying cow and horse. This was awesome. I got goosebumps. That was drawn like 17,000 years ago. Are you kidding me? Like, you don't have to speak cavemanese. Like, you just know what that is. Visual communication, amazing. And international crew here, right? No matter where you live on Earth, you know what this is. 1, 2, 3. Stop. All right, I'm gonna add 2 more things. You guys tell me they're ready. Stop. It's that famous MC Hammer song. Hilarious. All right, so the point is, we all agree it's visual communication, right? So for the point of this chat, I'm gonna just say it's straight up communication. And first thing, when you come up to the podium, like, what? That's not how you start. Like, whoa. I mean, even I'm from Romania. When people are like, "Oh, say something in Romanian," I can't think of anything to say. I'm a grown-ass man. I can't think of a sentence because what are you thinking? Saying something in a British accent is stupid. Forget style for style's sake, and start focusing on why am I doing this? What do I want to say? Who am I saying it to? And really importantly, for expression, how can I be most expressive to reach them best? These are your tools right here. So think about that stuff. Stop and think. So in game design terms, that means fill in your own design spec. Obviously, if somebody sat there and typed up all the details for you, your job's done. Make sure you check all the boxes. But if you're doing something like a barrel, maybe somebody didn't give you a bunch of info. They're like, make a fucking barrel. Okay, so I'll go around to the artist. I'll do my rounds and be like, what are you working on? A barrel? Come on, man, I need more information. Friday, it's due Friday. It's like, that's not, like, no, I want adjectives. Awesome, descriptive adjectives. Where's it go? Who used it? Who made it? All that stuff. And I didn't write this down, but I hate the word generic. Oh, it's just a generic barrel. Get out, get out. Like, there's no such thing. Even, like, this is the most generic barrels I could find. Wood, barrel, right? All of them have a story to tell. Like, what environment was it in? How long? How weathered? Who made it? What's the technology of the people making it? Like, the different, the wrapping, what is that, bamboo or something? Or the one on the left, like, speaks to the things that the people have around them. It, like, ties it to the time and place where it's at. Like, which one of these explodes? Right? Like, barrels are like snowflakes. They're like fingerprints. There's a huge delta between what a barrel can mean. So do your fucking homework. My point is, anything can have character, anything. There's no small assignment. So the way to kind of depict that is pretty simple here. The Harry Potter, what's this, Gryffindor? Gryffindor common room. Like, it's inviting and warm and friendly, just like these blokes. Look at them. You want to be a Gryffindor? Where do these assholes live? Look at them. Of course they live here, right? Like, this place is better than you. It's expensive, but it's like off-putting. It's not inviting. It's cold, right? So just the way a set designer puts different pieces of furniture into a set to bring out a mood, you can do that. So I think of anything. If it's a barrel, a creature, whatever, I think of it as a pot sticker because I'm kind of fat. So what are all the yummy things that go into a pot sticker to make it delicious? And then you shove those in. So if you're making a creature, so what are you saying? What are you making? I'm making a creature. What kind of creature? Start filling your design document up. Of course, at work, a lot of that's taken care of in the strike team, but in your personal art. Like, are you working on a movie concept or are you making a game? Like, all that stuff makes a difference. So I pre-did this like a cooking show. I filled it out. I said, we're making a game. It's a first-person shooter. Is it fantasy, steampunk? I went with sci-fi, enemy, creature. It's a monster. And then, why would you think of all that stuff even if you're just doing your own game? Because you're not going to have a monster in a sci-fi game that's a unicorn, right? And so you're like, oh, maybe it's a mutant or a robot or a beast. Okay, those are sci-fi things. I'm going to say robot, intelligent, and then, back up to game. How does it move? Is it like, oh, I'm trying to shoot it a bunch and one bullet kills it, but it moves so fast I can't hit it? That's a ninja. Or is it like slow and steady and I'm just emptying my clip into it and then it falls right at my feet? Oh, Just being a weirdo. All right, so that's like a tank enemy. I was getting too serious. So all that info goes into your gyoza, goes into your pot sticker, goes into your game design document. And then you're not just making a creature, I don't know, by Friday. You're saying, I'm making an intelligent robot tank enemy creature for a sci-fi shooter. And like, that could be a damn paragraph. We just don't have all day here. But the whole point is stop and think about what you're doing so you know what you're doing. That sounds obvious, but anyway, it's visual communication, so you have to know what to say before you say it. Fill out your own design spec and use what, why, who, how, all those. That's your big tools right there. And then the last one is use reference. If you're not familiar with that picture, it's of course from this famous scene in Titanic where he's referencing the life model. I have this scene right here. I think the director drew that. No, but we know that the traditional artists have always had live models, and that in animation, whether it's like just little facial expression stuff that they pick up for the Little Mermaid, or like rotoscoping for Peter Pan, or even the one-to-one expression capture that they do for like the Gollum dude. What's his name? Andy Serkis? It's almost like one-to-one. You need reference. Like, it just grounds things. It brings life to them. It makes them more believable and good. And it's not that reference is all about realism. This is an old episode I saw of I think it's on YouTube, the Mickey Mouse show, where they had, or what's it called, Mickey Mouse Club, where they had these 4 awesome background painters go out and they painted a tree. I'm like, that's not real. But the guy in the middle is sort of cubistic. This one on the right, the guy went to town on the really groovy, awesome tree bark. Like, you had to be there and experience the tree to get that crazy with a tree bark. He wouldn't have had that successful and expressive of a piece if he wasn't live looking at the thing. So just forget your knee-jerk reactions and do a little interneting. Like, we have supercomputers in our pockets. Like, there's no excuse to not do that. And then there's like this little known artist I found on ArtStation. So look, there's no arguing. He's a master draftsman, painter, all that stuff. But I think his superpower comes in selecting the awesome models that have the most character and composing them in like the perfect kind of emotional shot. Like, sure, the painting brings it to a whole nother level, but like that photo, if you had photos like that on your Instagram, his Instagram would be off the hook. So the way I think of it is creating art is like arranging flowers. So put yourself in that mind frame. All of these are beautiful. None of y'all could do this. I can't. Like, this is amazing. And nobody invented any of those flowers. Oh, it's from my own imagination. It's my own flower design. Get out of here. It's just making the right selections and putting them together in interesting ways. And I bet you if I gave 10 pros the same flowers, they'd each make a different arrangement out of it. Like, quit thinking you're smarter than everybody. Just look up some damn reference. And make a good reference. Tragic. Delicate. Exotic. Somber. Not the first row in Google, not the first thing that pops up, right? Like, shitty, generic, crappy reference gets you your first apartment. And then like expressive, dynamic, interesting reference gets you the Harry Potter common rooms, right? So expressive reference can say whatever you're trying to say for you. It's just about stopping, thinking, and selecting the right stuff. Or as Peter Koenig shared a quote with me that he got from, I don't know, it's like an old industry saying, and it's crude, but it makes a lot of sense. If you want good shit, eat good food. That'll stick in your brains there. All right, so back to what we were talking about. We're talking about our creature. So what are you saying? What are you making? An intelligent robot tank enemy creature for a sci-fi shooter. All right. The whole point of that was to generate a list of creatures that we could do a Google search for. And remember, I did this. I did it to make it stick in your minds. We're drawing a tank guy that can take a lot of bullets. No, I didn't. That guy can take the most bullets. All right. So why not a rhino? Well, hold on. You said intelligent robot creature. So out of these guys, it's actually not the rhino. It's probably the gorilla that's a better choice. So I take this gorilla, and I treat it sort of the armature, maybe, for the monster. And I say, I have a tank enemy, sci-fi shooter, robot, gorilla thingy. And I shove those into the gyoza. And now it's time for reference dipping sauces. The dipping sauces. I don't know why I'm doing that voice. There it is. So if we shove our thingy into kind of junkyard dipping sauce, bear with me, boom, you get an intelligent junkyard guard robot creature for a sci-fi shooter, right? Like, that makes sense. Or if I go into the badass military sauce, I chose mustard because it's almost military colored. Pretty cool. Extra points. You get something that looks like this, an intelligent military assault bot tank enemy for a sci-fi shooter. Either way, I mean, you saw it. It was going completely different ways, but the point is each one of those were super expressive, had lots of information about them, had lots of character and interesting references pulled. Again, you got to express yourself, and you can just do it by curating expressive reference and then just combining it in interesting ways. There's no other super trick. So don't be a dick, stop and think, and use reference. And I'll end with, I've got a couple slides left. So my friend Jamie Jones got this from like a real painter because he reads, but anyway, there's this old saying that like if you have an hour to paint, use the last 10 minutes to paint, use the 50 minutes to plan and think. That's pretty epic, pretty cool. I think it was actually 45 minutes, but this is the only clip art I found, so 50 minutes. The point is, all the stuff, all the thought is going to help you express. What are you trying to express? And all the things we talked about are in that first column. The idea, what is it? What's the tone? What's the mood? And then all the other things can kind of service that. So if you're doing something cartoony, you double down. Like those cute Yoshi games, now they're made out of wool. Oh, that's adorable, right? Like double down, double down. But again, if you don't have this first column taken care of, if you don't stop and think about what you're doing and use really good reference, you're not going to be there. So if pilots can avoid disaster with a checklist of basics, and surgeons have a super simple wash your hands kind of basic checklist to save lives, and Aaron's crusty ass piece of paper can help him make this like fantastic, awesome art, then maybe, just maybe, you guys put this in your pocket and we all become better artists instantly. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if do we have time for questions, or it's not rocket science, is it? Awesome. No questions. All right, thank you very much. Thank you.